Groan to Glory, a journey through Romans chapter 8, verses 18 to 30. Have you ever felt like life is too heavy to carry? Like you're groaning under the weight of your struggles, wondering when or if relief will come? What if I told you that these groans are not the end of your story? Stay with me, because the groaning you feel today will lead to unimaginable glory. And by the end of this message, you'll see how your pain is preparing you for something far greater. Life has a way of throwing us into seasons of groaning, times when nothing seems to go right, when the weight of life's struggles becomes too much to bear. Maybe you're there right now. Maybe you're in a place where it feels like your prayers are hitting the ceiling, where every step forward feels like 2 steps back. The Apostle Paul in Romans chapter 8, verses 18 to 30, talks about this very thing, how the sufferings of this present time are nothing compared to the glory that is coming. He tells us that we groan, not because we're defeated, but because we are being shaped for something extraordinary. But how do we get from groaning to glory? Let me tell you a story. There was a woman named Sarah, a strong believer who loved God deeply, but over time, life started to press in on her. She lost her job unexpectedly, her health started to fail, and her relationships began to crumble. Every night she would groan, literally groan because the pain felt too much. Sarah prayed, asking God why things were falling apart when she was trying so hard to follow him. Her groans seemed unanswered. Days turned into months, and still, she was stuck in the same situation, waiting for something to change. Have you ever felt that way? Like you're holding on, but you're just barely holding on? Sarah's story might sound a lot like your own, but here's where things take a turn. What Sarah didn't realize was that God was working in her waiting. Though she couldn't see it, each groan, each prayer, was building something within her. There was a transformation happening underneath the surface. Romans chapter 8, verse 18 says, "For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing with the glory that is to be revealed to us." Paul knew about groaning. He knew that suffering isn't meaningless. Every groan is connected to a greater purpose, a glory that far outweighs the pain. But Sarah wasn't the only one groaning. In Romans 8, verse 22, Paul says, "For we know that the whole creation has been groaning together in the pains of childbirth until now." Even creation groans. The trees, the mountains, the oceans, they all wait for the day when everything will be restored, renewed, made right. It's as if all of creation is holding its breath, waiting for the glory that's coming. Creation is groaning, and we are too, alongside it. Sarah didn't know it yet, but her groaning was like labor pains, not meaningless suffering, but the precursor to something beautiful being birthed in her life. She was on the edge of glory, but she hadn't realized it yet. Here's where things get interesting. In Romans 8, verse 28, Paul drops a bombshell of truth. "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." Every tear, every groan, every sleepless night, it's all being worked together for your good. God is weaving your pain into a greater purpose. This was true for Sarah, and it's true for you. The glory that God is preparing isn't just about your situation getting better. It's about you being transformed. Months later, after what seemed like endless waiting, Sarah began to feel a shift. It wasn't that her circumstances changed overnight, but something in her had changed. She realized that the groaning had drawn her closer to God. Her prayers became more intimate. She learned to trust God, not because of what he could give her, but because of who he is. It was then that Sarah understood the truth of Romans chapter 8, verses 26 and 27. "Likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weakness. For we do not know what to pray for as we ought, but the Spirit himself intercedes for us with groanings too deep for words." Even when Sarah couldn't find the words to pray, God's Spirit was praying for her, groaning with her, carrying her through the pain. She wasn't alone. God was right there in the middle of it all. Now stay with me. I want to encourage you to keep watching. Why? Because there's an important truth coming that you won't want to miss. Something that could change how you look at your pain, your groaning, and your journey toward glory. Here's the truth I've been leading you to. Your groaning is not wasted. God is using every bit of your pain to bring you closer to him and to prepare you for the glory that's coming. But there's more, you see. The glory isn't just for some distant future in heaven. God is transforming you right now. Every groan is shaping you. Every tear is watering seeds of growth. Every sleepless night is building strength in your spirit. And one day you will look back and see that the very thing you thought would break you was the thing that brought you to a place of deeper faith and trust in God. Romans 8 verse 30 says, "And those whom he predestined, he also called. And those whom he called, he also justified. And those whom he justified, he also glorified." You see, you are already on a path to glory. God has called you, justified you, and is glorifying you. The groans are just part of the journey. They are not the end of your story. As we wrap up, I want to leave you with this. Your present groaning is temporary, but God's glory is eternal. You may not see it right now, but trust that God is working in ways you can't imagine. Just like Sarah, you may feel stuck in the waiting, but remember that God is preparing you for something greater. So when life feels heavy, when you feel like groaning is all you can do, remember that your groans are leading you to glory. You are not alone. God is with you. His Spirit is interceding for you, and His plans for you are greater than you can fathom. If this message has spoken to your heart today, I encourage you to like this video, comment below, and subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of the encouraging messages we share here. Before you go, make sure to share this video with someone who needs to hear it. You never know whose life you could change by simply sharing this message of hope. Thank you for joining us today, and see you in the next. Remain blessed, and remember, from groan to glory, God is with you every step of the way. Comment Amen.